Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
let's go, bub. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Join me today for my advanced look at the Return of Wolverine Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on November 25th or 26th, depending on where you get your books. What we are looking at here is one of the 3 covers. This one here supplied by Nick Bradshaw. This is one of the direct market covers. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover, and that one is supplied by John Cassaday. But also, the other direct market cover, that one's supplied by R.B. Silva. So all 3 of these will have a different design of Logan. Everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, so we will bring the action back to this image right here by Nick Bradshaw and those Sentinels going after Logan and him just having a good time. Over here on the spine, the Return of Wolverine in big, bold letters. There's Wolvie down there again, Marvel Omnibus. And then that red tone in the back here with some of the panels from inside the book. And this piece right here by Steve McNiven. And parental advisory. That's a lot of violence in this book. The retail price, $125. Actually, before we take the dust jacket off, let's go ahead and put it on the shelf because this really is the latest Wolverine Omnibus, the most recent Wolverine Omnibus. It goes right after the death of Wolverine, which kind of is a no-brainer, but hey, I just want to show people. And really, no, it's not the most latest. Technically, the Krakoa-era Wolverine Sabretooth War, that one's the most recent, but, you know, it's a different era, so I'm keeping it in a different part of my collection. But if you're a Wolverine collector, that's the most latest, and it goes after this, in case you're getting them just in hardcover format, Omni format. All right, flaps. The Legacy of Logan, oh yeah. And then the creators over here, Jerry Dugan, Ray Fawkes, Charles Soule, Mariko Tamaki, Tom Taylor, Jim Zub, just to name a few. And underneath the dust jacket is this really awesome negative image of Wolverine with the red tone again. So we are going to open this omnibus up and talk about the type of stories found in here and talk about the years they came out to kind of give you an idea of how long it took for Wolverine to actually return since, you know, the death of Wolverine. Okay, let's go ahead and get this omnibus opened. We have your black end sheets there. Return of Wolverine. Return of Wolverine, written by Charles Soule, Ray Fawkes, also Jim Zub, and Mariko Tamaki, Tom Taylor for these miniseries. So this is broken down by different series over here. Like you have Wolverines, Hunt for Wolverine, and then the miniseries, and then Return of Wolverine, and then Jerry Dugan doing the Wolverine Infinity Watch. All of these different artists are working on Wolverines 1 through 20, so that's something to keep in mind. So you're going to have people in here like Nick Bradshaw, and Alison Borges, and Juan Doe, Salvador La Roca, and also Chris Anka. And then down here you'll have David Marquez doing the Wolverine, Hunt for Wolverine, and then each of the miniseries has a different artist like R.B. Silva and Butch Guys and Tony Silas. But Return of Wolverine does have Steve McNiven and Declan Shalvey, and then Infinity Watch has the Andy McDonald art with different inkers and colors. So what exactly is collected in this omnibus? So collected in this omnibus is Wolverines 1 through 20, Hunt for Wolverine one-shot. Little recap as to what's happened previously. and the Hunt for Wolverine's Weapons Lost, Hunt for Wolverine Adamantium Agenda, Hunt for Wolverine The Claws of a Killer miniseries, Hunt for Wolverine Mystery and Madripoor 1 through 4, Hunt for Wolverine Dead Ends One Shot, Return of Wolverine 1 through 5, Wolverine Infinity Watch 1 through 5, and then material from Marvel Legacy Where is Wolverine subplot pages. And there's a lot of those. The book has 1,232 pages and again retails for $125. I will say, this is not a book that should be your first Wolverine omnibus, because Wolverine doesn't really show up until a lot later, even though this is called Return of Wolverines. What this really is kind of like the Death of Wolverine aftermath and Return of Wolverine. So let's just put it like that, because the first thing that's collected in here are the Wolverines miniseries, or maxi series because it's 20 issues. Spoilers going into this book, because there's a lot of things that you have to know about. And I know it's stupid to say that in the omnibus Death of Wolverine, Wolverine died. But, you know, how exactly did he die? So let's talk a little bit about that. By the way, just looking at the sequential art from Nick Bradshaw, man, do I miss his art. So yes, Wolverine previously died. He is encased in adamantium. And in this particular series right here, you have the characters of X-23 and Daken and Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike with Mystique that have been brought together by these characters that have appeared previously from the Weapon X Super Soldier project, which is kind of what led into the death of Wolverine. But here, man, the parental advisor has a lot of violence in here. But in here, what's happening is that these new characters, these 5 characters that have appeared that are calling themselves Weapon X, they are... Okay, first of all, let's talk about who they are. There's Shogun, and there's the character of Skell, there's Junk and Endo, and Neuro. So those 5 characters make up the Weapon X. The Wolverines are characters like Sabretooth, Mystique, Daken, X-23, and Lady Deathstrike. So what's happening here is that these characters, these 5 characters, have a terminal ill DNA. Something is going on with their bodies. So what they need is the DNA of Wolverine that's encased in that adamantium. So that's what they thought they were going to get the help with. So the reason, because these people, these characters like Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike do not just help anybody out of the blue, is that they have implanted it's like a hypnotic word. It's like a secret command hypnotic word that will blow up if they don't help. So they have to help. And it's not as easy as you think it's going to be. And what happens is that a character like Mr. Sinister comes in and takes the Wolverine body. And then we have the introduction of this character known as Phantom L? Yeah. Who's a big thief and plays a big important part through here. So that's what this is. It's this story about how these 5 characters have to go and help out the other 5 characters, whether they want to or not. Now, it's not that easy when you have Mr. Sinister stealing Wolverine's body. You've got the X-Men that come and try to claim the body, of course, taking it from Mr. Sinister. So what are these villains going to do? There are some relationships that start blossoming from here and some that I did not see coming. And you'll have return of characters like Fang that show up through here. So Fang shows up through about halfway through the series. And he was an alien warrior. He's part of the Imperial Guard, and apparently him and Wolverine have been a best buds. They get together once a year to have some drinks and fight, and here he comes to find out who exactly killed one of his best friends, or he calls himself my best friend. And of course he's blaming the Weapon X, and yes, Daken has his eye missing and his arm gone, and that all happened in the first few issues. You're not missing anything. I will say the only part that might get confusing to you is because they have different artists. This is what Fang looks like he looks big and over the top in this issue, and then in the very next issue he looks like this. He's a little slimmer. So in case you're not really familiar with the character, you might be like, wait, where the hell is Fang? Where did he go? So he gets thrown into the mix, and another mystery is thrown out there. Who took Wolverine's adamantium body? And what exactly does Mr. Sinister want to do with it? Now, what ends up happening, of course, because whenever you have Sinister involved, he makes promises to some of these characters. And some of these characters from either Weapon X or the Wolverines might end up joining sides with him. And, of course, nothing ever goes according to plan. So, that was a series that started, I think it was in 2015 and ended in 2015. So, it was coming out, I think, weekly. There is a returning character, too, that appears through here named Siphon. And he makes a return through these very pages. And let's get to the next series, because then we have a different era, and that is the era of the Hunt for Wolverine. So that was in 2015. So again, when I said that this is more like an aftermath, and then another storyline that leads into a return of, that's what this is. Hunt for Wolverine. So that's what this era is. This has been collected before in a hardcover. But this doesn't have the Return of Wolverine or the other miniseries, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. So the basic premise, and I'll do a comparison between both of these. The premise behind this story right here is we have a one-shot. And in the one-shot, we have the X-Men that apparently now have put the Wolverine encased in adamantium in a cabin where he belongs. However, they want to properly bury him. And what happens is Kitty Pryde ends up phasing him out. And it's a really beautiful, moment. But then, someone has taken Wolverine's body. And that leads into this, blacked out figure with claws. Could that really be Wolverine? Or is somebody pretending to be him? Because the body is missing when they buried it. So, Kitty Pryde approaches different people like Tony Stark to go and help. As well as Daredevil. And then you have this ominous Jean Grey, the young original 5 Jean Grey, saying, welcome back. So could he really be back? So then the series are split up for the Hunt of Wolverine, or the Hunt for Wolverine. You have Weapons Lost right here. And Weapons Lost is the X-Men pretty much enlist the help of Daredevil, who will end up getting the help of Misty Knight and this Inhuman known as Nur to help him. And all three of them end up getting the help of Cypher. Now, there is somebody here. I have to go back to this. I love that Nur, who's kind of like a private eye. His name is Frank McGee. When Daredevil's asking him, we need to find Wolverine. He's like, wait, which one? The old one, the lady, the blonde kid, the android? I mean, it's all so confusing. The blonde kid is, of course, from the Ultimate Universe, X-23. And then you have Old Man Logan. And, oh man, it's always good to see Albert show up. Or is that Albert or someone else? So this is a mystery of... This really feels more like a detective story with Cypher thrown in as to where Wolverine went. That's what that miniseries is. The next series, this is the one that I noticed, the first few pages has a little bit of this, poorly scanned artifacts that you'll notice, in 90s comics. And I'm not sure why. I'll do a comparison with my Hunt for Wolverine oversized hardcover. And it's just in the first few pages. After the first few pages, it's all clean and crisp. But this is the adamantium agenda. So this is Iron Man because he was asked by Kitty Pryde to help, seeking the help of Spider-Man, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones. And apparently there is this black market auction going on where a bunch of supervillains bid on things, and one of the things that's rumored to be there is a genetic material of a hero. Everybody thinks it's Wolverine, but no, it's actually Danielle Cage, the daughter of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. How is Wolverine tied into this? Well, that's when Laura Kinney shows up, and perhaps Wolverine is out there somewhere. You get small hints, there's flashbacks here as to where Wolverine could be, perhaps. But I love the fact that every one of these series throws a big, red herring out there. This is Claws of a Killer, and this is a murder mystery. This is more like a zombie type of story, where you do see someone, it could be Wolverine at the very beginning, kill a couple of people, and it seems like he's working undercover. And let's go back to the very first issue here. Yeah, so in the first issue in Maybell, Arizona, you have Wolverine, it looks like Logan, kill these two guys, and then states that the installation is complete. The location's ready for Soteria Kill Team 9 to secure and document. speaking in code I don't understand. What I do understand is that back in Manhattan, you have the character of Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike at a bar with Daken, hearing about perhaps Wolverine being there, because the Reavers were trying to get his body and failed in that one shot. And now they go out there to Arizona to see if it's really Wolverine, but what they run into is a group of zombies and a horrible experiment. And then we move on to the next issue. I think, or the miniseries, this is one of the most important ones if you're just an X-Men reader. It's got, of course, Logan in there when we're talking about Madripoor. But in this series, it's the story of course, Kitty Pryde, because she's got to gather some X-Men, and X-Men that love Wolverine. So she ends up gathering Jubilee, and Rogue, and Psylocke, and Storm. This miniseries is important if you're a fan of... Okay, another spoiler here, but this is more to do with something going on in the X-Men series, because people ask me these questions, and I just want to let them know where things happen. So apparently they think it's Magneto that has stolen his body, and that takes him to Madripoor, where they're going to face off against Viper and her femme fatale. And her femme fatale is made up of characters like Knockout and Bloodlust and Sapphire Sticks and this character known as Snake Whip. Well, in Madripoor, the character of Sapphire Sticks becomes really important, because what ends up happening is, in defeating her, they actually free the original Psylocke, and it's all explained through here with comic book science. And that's where you get the separation between Psylocke Quanon and Psylocke Betsy Braddock. So Betsy Braddock is officially back during this miniseries. That's when people ask me, like, when does it take place? It really starts, like, all the way back in Adjectivelix X-Men by Fabian Nicieza, and then it moves into the Matt Fraction run. But then when they become separated really happens in this run right here. Interesting that it's taking place in a Hunt for Wolverine miniseries. We get the Dead Ends one shot right here, where Tony Stark does end up finally helping. And perhaps there is a solution to where Wolverine is. The big question, where has he been? But the big return happens in, of course, the Return of Wolverine. This is part of what I like to call the Adamantium trilogy. I think a lot of nerds out there, that's what we call it. You had the Death of Wolverine, and you had the Hunt for Wolverine, and now you have the Return of Wolverine. So, this is Charles Soule coming back to the story with Steve McNiven. Very, very similar to the art of Barry Windsor-Smith. Just, I don't know, man. He's just channeling that Barry Windsor-Smith art. This one has a lot of gore, a lot of bloods. But yeah, this one has the Return of Wolverine. And it is explained a little bit as to how he returned. And if you're thinking, wait a second, but he had been back. He showed up in that one issue of Marvel 1000 with the Infinity Stone. Or Infinity Gem, if you're a comic book reader. Yes, that actually is collected here, and I'll explain how it's collected. But here he is back. He has returned. Someone has brought him back to life. He gets to meet this character named Anna, who will become an important part of this miniseries. And here what ends up happening is he starts unlocking memories, like in his brain. You'll actually see him unlocking memories. He doesn't remember anything at first. And then you have Declan Shalvey doing the artwork for issues 2 through 4, and then Steve McNiven comes back for the final issue. But by the end of the final issue, you do see him getting his memories back, and eventually perhaps making a return to the mansion. And it's just, it's such a pretty sight to see Wolvie go back to the mansion. And this is what I mean. Like, if you look at that, man, that screams Barry Windsor-Smith. But how exactly did he come back? What the hell happened? Well, a little bit of it is explained through that miniseries, and then more of it, and it's through these next pages. Sorry, it was Marvel Legacy 1, not Marvel 1000, that you get to see perhaps Wolverine had come back a little bit earlier. So let me skip a little bit through here. This is Jason Aaron, Esad Ribic. There was somebody that was helping the Avengers behind the scenes, and that somebody is holding an Infinity Gem. So who is this? And in here you're going to see, I love the way that this is collected, by the way. Every appearance of Wolverine just in the background of all these different comics, including X-Men Gold, X-Men Red, and Black Panther, as well as Amazing Spider-Man. And they give credit to whoever the writer was and the artist, the inkers, and everyone. So you see little appearances like this. You'll see him in the background. Not missing anything. It's really cool how this is collected. I'm glad they did this after the Return of Wolverine, because that kind of gives you the big question, like, wait, how exactly did it come back? And it kind of puts it together with this in the next story arc that we'll see through here. And then you have this right here from the Infinity Countdown Prime and Infinity Countdown #1 with beautiful artwork by Mike Deodato Jr. And again, the ties to that Infinity Gem. And what does it have to do with Loki? You have these stories from the Fantastic Four, again, these pages where Wolverine is back, and they even acknowledge the fact, like, wait, how did you get back? And Wolverine mentions, not right now, bub. And then you have these issues right here or the pages from Avengers #10, and then that leads into Wolverine Infinity Watch, which explains a little bit more. This actually feels more like an epilogue to the Infinity Saga, the Guardians of the Galaxy that Jerry Dugan wrote, more than the actual Wolverine, the Return of Wolverine. But it's actually a fun story. It's about the Infinity Gems and how they have become fused to people during this time. You saw him having an Infinity Gem, and that all happened because of what was going on in Jerry Dugan's run on Guardians of the Galaxy and then the Infinity Wars. Well, one of the gems gets fused with this, oh my gosh, it's a death row inmate. I cannot remember his name. But it gets fused with him. And who has to protect them? Well, none other than Wolverine and Loki. So it's almost like this buddy cop type of story that will take him out to space. You're going to see some familiar characters in here. A character that actually showed up in the Hunt for Wolverine and the Wolverines maxi series that I don't expect to show up in a comic book with Wolverine, but it was a really nice addition. And that's all I will say about that. Let's get to the extras, because there's quite a number of them. So you saw the way the book is mapped. You have Wolverines, Hunt for Wolverine, Return of Wolverine. You have all his appearances throughout the many pages of Marvel Comics. And then you have Wolverine Infinity Watch. I think it's mapped great. I mean, really the only thing missing are those backup stories that introduce like Wolverine's daughter, the blonde, not X-23 the clone, who still remains a mystery whether she is or not. And then we're looking at the different variant covers right here. And there's a lot during this era. Hey, that's the RB Silva one for the direct market cover here that they have. And giving credit at the very... Wow, that's awesome. Todd Knock for Hunt for Wolverine Weapons Lost. Oh, wow. And then they all can... Oh, that is... I think I've seen that poster before. The dude is crazy. Olivier Coipel, the classic cover. John Cassaday. Lionel Francis Yu, Todd McFarlane. That's one from his own run of Adjectiveless Spider-Man. Yes, the many different outfits for the Return of Wolverine. Nick Bradshaw's cover, which is the other direct market cover. Oh, I'm sorry, the John Cassaday was the standard edition. Declan Shalvey, Adi Granov. Man, people love drawing him on a motorcycle with his claws out, sparking that ground. And then, oh, that's cute. It's now Fuji's, which is the Marvel, what was it called? Marvel Cat? Marvel Shorts? But they were using that as, oh, that's the character of Persephone. I forgot about her. And then the character designs, yeah, for the other characters that showed up through here. And your end sheets. So let's look. 1,232 pages, retailing for $125. So what I want to do is, this one, by the way, printed at the iMac printer, is look at the way it lays over. And you saw that eye. It's a pretty big eye, honestly, compared to the way that iMac printers used to be. And the paper stock seems as thick as Donley and the Mega Print these days. And a little bit of gutter loss. And yeah, let's go ahead and actually compare it to the oversized hardcover over here. Paper stock is a little bit thicker in the oversized hardcover, and colors seem a little bit more vibrant in the omnibus edition. But let's get to something like this, because the oversized hardcover does have glued binding. But let's get to some double page spreads like this. You have to hold it down to see the whole thing, but then again, you do have to do the same thing here too, because it's a big book. Let's see if we can find another double page spread here in a little bit. All right, let's knock out two birds with one stone. Yes, the artifacts I talked about are found in the oversized hardcover as well. But again, the colors are a little bit more vibrant over here. And let's see, the double page spreads. Honestly, yeah, it's a little bit better over here than the glued binding. Is look at the bleed through that is happening. Actually, it's happening on both of them. And the paper stock here is a little bit thicker. But I wanted to come to a lighter page. Yeah, a little bit more prominent over here than over here. But that is it. That is Wolverine, the Return of Wolverine Omnibus. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcon at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
That was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. The comments down below, let me know if you've read a lot of the series here, if you're picking this up because you bought The Death of Wolverine, or you just get every single Wolverine omnibus. And of course, what you thought of the stories in case you read them. Any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.